Did you know that non-alcoholic beer actually requires you to have ID to purchase, but shandy, which does have alcohol in it, does not require you to have ID?
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Pixel Imperfect podcast. I'm Bart. I'm here with Sean.
Hey,
Say hello.
hi.
Hello. And today we're going to be controversial. We're
Whoa.
going to be talking about the topic. Okay, give us a moment. Don't tune out instantly yet because we are here to start stuff, The topic for today is when does pixel art stop being pixel art, or what defines pixel art? Which is a doozy. But we wanted to be very, at least I want to be very clear from the get-go. Do not take this as anything objective. This is our views, our observations, our way of looking at these sorts of things, and we're going to try and keep it a bit more abstract, hopefully, and then kind of weighted, make clear it's a gray area. If you hear us talk about this and you think, oh, apparently I'm not making pixel art, probably you are. We're just dumb. Okay, so just keep that in mind for
Yeah,
this
guys,
episode.
our opinions are our opinions. If you have different opinions, please feel free to state them and tell us that we're wrong, because I want to hear what all you guys have to say on this topic.
Oh
Because
yeah, let's start just a flame war about the definition of pixel art. That's great.
absolutely, you have
What
my
a way
full
to get
permission to
community together. Oh
roast me
yeah,
for my
roast us.
opinions.
Don't roast other people over this. Okay, roast us. We're condoning it because we know we're dumb. We know we're dumb, right? So
Yeah.
hear that. Well, yeah, you kind of put together like a list of topics we kind of wanted to touch on throughout this episode. So I guess we just kind
Yeah.
of start going down that.
All right. So for the first sort of category of what is pixel art that I wanted to get into was it was canvas size, I think. So is there a specific
Yeah.
size of canvas that stops something from being pixel art? So what do you think? What
Yeah.
what do you think? Is there a
I mean,
size?
just like speaking in a very abstract and like the most general tone, no, I don't think there is. I
Uh,
think that in that sense it's up to other elements, but there is the element, there's a bit of element of context. I mean, that's the point we want to touch
mm,
upon, is like intended purpose.
yeah.
If it is like something that's supposed to emulate some classic style or whatever, of course you're going to have Kansas size restrictions, but that is more attributed to that style than the actual like uh, general definition of pixel art.
Hmm. And you'll have different scenarios as well where you've got people with fairly large canvas sizes.
I,
But it's like a Where's Wally scenario where all of the pixel art, all of the details and things are pixel art level, but it's a massive canvas size. So and
I've
it's one
seen
of these
some
things you got to zoom in.
enormous pieces that are clearly pixel art. It's just that those people took forever to do it.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm randomly reminded of, actually, that's starting soon. I'm just random intermission. Speaking of big pixel art canvases, a funny event is starting on April Fools on
Ooh, do
Reddit.
tell.
Do you remember r
R
slash
slash
place?
place.
Yeah,
Yes, I do.
they're redoing it. So for anyone not aware, r
Ooh.
slash place, I don't know which year it was. It was a couple of years back. Reddit always does some special subreddit for April Fools generally. And a couple of years back, there was r slash place. The point of r slash place was there was this massive canvas. I think it was just like 1080, like a 1080 by 1920 canvas, maybe bigger, maybe smaller. I'm not fully certain, but a big ass canvas. And the point was each user could place a pixel once per minute.
think it was around that time. Either
Yeah.
it's either a minute or 10 minutes, one of the
And
two.
it's all the same canvas. It's not like you need to build it up on your own, but it's all working on the same canvas at the same time. And
It started like
objectively,
Clan Wars in it as well. You'd have
yeah, no,
different
there
sort of
was,
factions. There was the Darkness, which ended. I
yeah,
think
the
it started in the
void,
middle, and it just
yeah,
grew out, and it was
there was
trying to blacken
blue.
the canvas. There was
There
that
was
one.
blue as well. There was a whole bunch of flags, a whole bunch of things from video games. I saw stuff from Binding of Isaac that
Uh huh.
slowly like started adding like
I
extra
watched a video
visuals.
on the whole story of, I think it was a My Little Pony one. There was a My Little Pony pixel art
Mm.
that was
Uh-huh.
defended very fiercely.
Right. Yeah, I think I helped defend some like pieces I found neat a couple of times.
I wasn't on Reddit at that time. I didn't
I
have.
was because I'm not gonna say anything about that.
You're a Redditor?
I'm
What?
a Reddit user. No, but no, okay. So I guess you could see that as an example because that was the truest of true pixel art. You could only place singular pixels
Hmm.
in a sense. So
But it was
that
such
was
a big
pixel art,
canvas.
but it was a massive canvas. To be fair, you could consider it like individual pieces or whatever, but still, like you could see that as an example. It's like, see, massive canvas, still pixel art.
Hmm. So canvas size only.
Generally, no.
Yeah, canvas size doesn't
Context.
really affect whether something is pixel art or not because context is what's more important then. So that's the
Yeah,
conclusion we're coming to. If that's the
basically.
case, then what's the content, the context
Yeah.
for the
What did
canvas?
you context? What do you mean, content or context?
Uh, Both, because the content will
Okay.
provide the context.
Yeah, right. Okay, so basically, in what light you're making? Are you making it for?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. It
things
kind
like
of
the purpose of the piece, things like that.
depends. Like there is the thing. It's like, okay, with canvas size, if you do make it really big, but you are putting it in a situation where you cannot easily zoom into it, say you're using it for like a video game,
Hmm.
it's like it definitely loses that like the thing about pixel art where you can by either zooming in or close observation see the individual pixels it's built up out of. So I guess in that context, it does limit
Yeah.
how high. So canvas size, you could say, is somewhat limited by the content it is or the purpose it is for. So if you do like a background for a video game and it's technically like the truest of pixel art you can think of, which is like every pixel like manually placed or whatever.
That actually reminds me
If
of.
it's too big, you're still going to lose that
Mhm.
the aesthetic or the feeling of it being pixel art because it just, once something becomes has enough resolution, it just starts to all smooth out.
Yeah, but that reminds me of the backgrounds in Risk of Rain, which I talked about. Well, I didn't talk about the backgrounds, but I
Uh-huh.
did talk about Risk of Rain. I mentioned it briefly in the last
Mention it.
podcast episode. Um, I think that was roughly in the rapid fire round. But the backgrounds are. I'm certain that the backgrounds are all these massive pixel art
Oh,
pieces, and
is
they
this?
are huge,
Yeah,
but
that
it's
looks
still clearly
big.
pixel art. Mm.
Okay, yeah, that is still like I'm looking at some images here. It's like you can still tell that's pixel art.
Hmm. Because the game is
But
played on a much more zoomed in screen, unless of course you're a speedrunner and then you
yeah.
play on maximum zoom out.
Yeah.
My brother's a speedrunner, so I better not dunk on them too hard.
I mean, I've also done speed running a
Oh,
little bit.
okay.
Not for any pixel art game.
Let's not dunk on speedrunners just yet. I don't have the
No,
confidence to do that.
you better not. Hello?
Yeah,
Speedrunning is dope. What
yeah.
what do you have against speedrunning?
This is not the podcast to get into that.
Fair enough. I mean,
I mean,
we knew we were gonna go on tangents.
yeah, I live with my brother who does speed running quite
Uh-huh.
a lot. He really enjoys speed running, and maybe
Oh yeah.
it's gotten to the point where I associate speed running with him, and
Oh,
that's why I see it in in
oh,
such a light. I'm
oh,
not saying I
right.
dislike my brother at all, but I've been living with him for 18 years, so you gotta
Yeah, right.
understand that there's
There is a
some
point.
things that I just
Yeah.
gotta back away from.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, okay. But no, don't come speedrunning. Speedrunning is dope.
Fine, fine. You survive for now, speedrunning community. You survive for now.
Sean will be the absolute just
I am the final
force of
boss of
destruction.
speedrunning, the slowest gamer ever.
A high health boss with a damage cap. It's like, oh no,
Haha, it's
the
me.
worst nightmare.
The unskippable cutscene. It's me. So,
God,
yeah, where were
no,
we again? Content for pixel art.
yeah. So yeah, in that sense, if it's like, so in the sense of, if you can't really like afford to spend time zooming in and admiring the individual pixels, then canvas size actually, like, content influences canvas size in my eyes, at least. Or at least I would still call it pixel art, but you can't admire it as pixel art, right? That's the point there.
Yeah, there's the thing with sprites and video games. If you take a look at, for example, trying to avoid examples because that means more editing on my part. Because I gotta edit in images of all of these
Easy.
things.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, but there's a game called Skullgirls, and it's a fighting
Oh,
game,
girls.
and it's very clearly not pixel art.
Uh-huh.
At least in my eyes, I don't think that I would consider it to be pixel art. Um,
No, that's not
yeah,
pixel art.
it's not pixel art. It's but you've got sprites and things like that, and you got to think about sprite size as well. If the character sprite
Uh-huh.
is really detailed, all the backgrounds and everything's are going to be detailed. So if you
Yeah.
can admire sort of the character sprite as pixel art, then I would start looking at everything else in that specific scenario being pixel art.
Right. Say that. Yeah. As in, yeah, we're clearly making a distinction here between being able to view something as actual, like, something can be pixel art, but like it can be difficult to see as pixel art when
Mm-hmm.
it's in the right context. For example, a video game when you're playing through it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things like Street Fighter, the original one of that, was really detailed, but I'd still consider that to be
Yeah.
pixel art. Whereas you compare that
Yeah.
to Skullgirls, that's clearly not pixel art at that point.
Yeah. Is it supposed to be pixel art? It's no way, right?
What Skullgirls? No,
Skullgirls.
no, not at all. I'm just
Okay.
using that as an example of what isn't
Okay.
pixel art.
Right. Sure. Because I was about to say, it's like, is this like super detailed pixel art here that you're going off on?
That
Or
that
like, no,
actually
okay.
brings me to to another thing. Anti-aliasing, does that make something pixel art? So if anti-aliasing is used really heavily, is something still pixel art? So
Mm,
you've
I
got
mean, so that is, again, that is kind of an aesthetic thing where it's just the question: do you prefer the sometimes roughness of pixel art? You know, the fact that you can't just make a certain thing look smooth and you just accept some of the jaggedness here and there, or do you rather like the aesthetic of, hey, I can smooth this out if I kind of take the middle between these two colors and, you know,
and start blurring it a
go
bit.
like that, start blurring it. It's like, I mean, you could just say again, if you do it in a true pixel art style where you just place those pixels individually, no funny business.
hmm
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be pixel art. That's just more of a
I
style thing.
I I disagree because you could have a really big canvas size and you're working on some of these smaller details, but you're putting in the anti-aliasing in order to prevent it from looking jaggedy.
Yeah.
So in that
Yeah.
sense, you can have something like that. It just uh, it's a really difficult one for this because again, it depends on the context.
Yeah.
Context is everything.
Of course, context is everything.
Uh,
Well, I mean, I don't think we should be surprised about that. But it is the yeah. Again, it's a thing of it being made as pixel art, so individually placing pixels and all that, versus being able to view it as pixel art because you have a big piece and you use anti-aliasing to hide some of the jaggedness. It could indeed very quickly become to look like just an actual digital art piece more than a pixel art piece with maybe just a bit of a low resolution.
mhm. So
So so far that's the big takeaway. Like it's like the distinction between it may be made as pixel art, but might not look like pixel art because of certain tools,
mhm.
canvas size, anti-aliasing,
Well,
etc., etc.
if context is everything for pixel art, what about animation then? You can have is non-true, I put true in quotation marks here, is non-true pixel art actually pixel art, so things moving sub-pixel.
Pixel movement. Oh yeah, there it becomes more.
That's where lines start to get blurred then.
Yeah,
No pun intended.
that is tough because we did touch upon like in the previous episode with the weapons rotating in
Mm-hmm.
certain games. Which, by the way, I found out like in the episode. Which is a funny thing. I mentioned I said this to you, right?
Yeah,
I mentioned Enter the Gungeon as something that did not abide by the grid, and then
but it
later.
does. And
But
later
it
you
does.
corrected
And
yourself.
later, I didn't correct myself. I just said, "Oh, Enter the Gungeon is an example of a game that does," not realizing I had incorrectly said it doesn't like 15 minutes prior.
Yeah,
Like a dumbass.
two conflicting statements.
Yeah, because the moment I realized was when I said Enter the Gungeon does not, and then you showed a screenshot of Enter the Gungeon abiding by the grid. I was like, oh no, I'm dumb.
Well, we all knew that.
Oh, where the that come from?
I have no idea. I tried your technique. I closed in on the microphone.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
Yeah, I can make my voice like that. I've always loved playing with my voice.
Me too. Hire us for voice acting.
Please do. I'd love to try voice acting.
I would also love to try voice acting. It's I'm just saying
I mean,
unrelated.
I could do a
anything
really
else.
good Muscle Man impression. So
Do it. Do it.
you know who else can do a really good Muscle Man impression? There you go.
Oh, that is good. I don't know. I can do funny voices or something.
Yeah,
I don't have any particular expertise.
yeah. I could. I don't know. I just started practicing it one day, and then suddenly it just clicked with me, and then I was like, okay, I've got it down. I've been able to do it ever since.
Yeah. Right.
We have
But,
strayed from pixel art again.
of course. I mean, we are kind of moving through these topics fast, so we're
Yeah,
just
we are
stalling time,
speed running this.
Um, oh, what were we talking about? Yeah, right, abiding by the grid. So yeah, in animation, when it's like sub-pixel movements, it's difficult to say. I mean, you can just easily say it's like, oh, well, yeah, the sprites themselves are pixel art, but the way they move is sub-pixel animation. That's not pixel art or whatever. But it's
hmm I was for a while quite stingy on this. I
yeah,
said
no, I this.
if things don't move on the pixel grid, that's no longer pixel animation. You've got the sprites
Yeah,
themselves, which are pixel art, but it's no longer pixel animation. I was really stingy on that, but the more that I've grown to see games doing this, and the more cleverly that they do it,
yeah,
so that it's not as obvious that there's sub-pixel movement. I mean, you can
right.
still, if you're looking
I
for it,
mean,
see it, but
yeah, a lot with like movement in modern pixel art games, just moving around probably happens sub-pixel, and it's like not really something you probably think about.
yeah. hmm
Like for a lot, it would look weird
Yeah, and
if it did.
for the wider audience, I think most people that don't really care don't notice these things.
Yeah,
It's just
right,
when you're
right.
looking for them.
I mean, but this is a podcast for pixel art, so people who assumedly do care. So
We
you know,
this is true, but we can cater for for
yeah,
other audiences if they want to join us for
sure,
some reason.
sure. Broaden our horizons. We'll get them all.
Podcast mon, gotta get them all.
Yeah, we just guys, we're abandoning pixel art. We're going to general digital art so that we can actually have a decent on.
Yeah, let's go. Broadening our horizon.
No, that's kind of rude, but no, yeah.
Yeah, guys,
There's nothing about.
we're abandoning you again. We know you guys don't get
Yeah,
enough love, but we're just gonna nah, you guys don't
we're just
matter.
gonna. You're gonna get like 5 episodes, and then we're like, anyway. So the art in
Yeah, these artist guys are
Arcane.
so much better. Oh,
Oh, look at this digital art. Look at this resolution. Beyond
ooh.
128 by 128. What
Hold on.
nerd would use that?
We've just discussed this. Past 128 is pixel art. It's the
Ah, shit.
context.
Yeah, okay, no. Actually, what I meant is every art is literally pixel art.
Hmm.
I mean, you could also see it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like there is two extremes here where you say it's like, technically all digital art is pixel art because it was made of individual pixels.
Hmm.
And then there's the other side of is like it needs to be to these constraints because of old games, you need to place each pixel individually, manually, without losing any line tools, circle tools, uh, dithering tools,
Hmm.
whatever that everything. So there are two big extremes there.
Here's another scenario that I guess blurs the lines, which would be digital printing. So
Mhm.
you can print off something. You can print off your digital art into the real world.
Yeah,
I work in that sort of section, and
right.
I have printed off some of my pixel art before. Um,
I have two shirts that my sister is like printed like especially for me. Two of my pieces that are now on a shirt that I have. Shirts.
I've got one more than you. I've got three pieces on a shirt.
Ah!
Yes,
I'm gonna have to.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to get another one. Two.
I got
Let's see.
three.
Which one shall I pick?
And I'm also currently looking at getting a canvas, so it's like a big painting sort of looking thing. Um,
Uh-huh.
so the thing with this is that their canvas size is actually much more important because you've got real physical proportions to think
Measurements, right?
about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at that point, does canvas matter? Does something that looks pixel art on a screen that doesn't look pixel art on a canvas, does that
I mean, how does it not look
change
like?
it? Does that change it in any way? Does that make it not pixel art in the real
What do you
world?
mean it doesn't look like pixel art on a canvas? Like it still
So
looks like.
you've got a really high resolution image that you're supposed to zoom in on. For example, the one in
Uh-huh.
r/place.
Yeah.
You have that image,
That's the type
and
of
you've got
deal.
a smaller real world canvas where you can't see the individual pixels anymore. Does
Yeah,
that
there's
still
that.
qualify as pixel art?
I mean, the pieces I have are basically just the pixel art blown out, like or blown out or reduced. It just does just actually look like pixel art.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. But I mean, I guess this is kind of the same problem. I mean, it is a thing where you're like, it is weird to think about because you could hear my I'm a math student, so here my like my brain is being activated. It's like, oh, what if you put pixel art on non-Euclidean surfaces like spheres?
Whoa.
Does it stop
That
being pixel art then?
that reminds me of a game idea that I had of a sort of like a non-Euclidean adventure top-down sort of game.
Right. I mean, okay, you always need to be careful because this was a funny thing. Okay, again, tangent, but about Euclidean spaces.
Hmm.
There's you have the SCP, right? The SCP
Yeah,
Foundation.
yeah.
There is one SCP, and it's classified not as safe Euclid or Keter or whatever. It's specifically classified as non-Euclid. And they do
Hmm.
this whole thing. It's like, it's have these weird properties. It's like impossible to draw a triangle on it with right angles. And when you let air out run out of it, it takes on a weird shape. People are compelled to take this object to a beach during summers. It's a beach ball. It was just a beach ball, but a beach ball is not like a sphere. It's non-Euclidean
Ah, okay, yeah,
and
I
it
see, I
doesn't it
see.
doesn't abide by Euclidean like definitions of distance and whatever, right?
Hmm.
So it's always funny. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make a non-Euclidean game. It's like, okay, is this like a game on a sphere, or are you like seriously messing with space time?
I would be messing with space, I
Yeah,
think, but
no, I assume as much, but it's
yeah.
always really
But
funny. Like,
there is a game, I think it's a VR game that was released. It's not non-Euclidean, but it's of a similar sort of breaking the Euclidean mold.
uh-huh.
Um,
Do you remember this
I
name?
can't remember its name now. And it's coming to Quest like today or tomorrow or something like that. It's coming
What's
to
going on
Quest
now?
very, very soon.
Okay, wait,
Um,
hold on. VR games
was
coming
it
soon.
Code Parade? I think that made it. I'll have to double check. I think it was
Let me
Code Parade.
see.
Code Parade. Here we go.
What
Hyperbolica.
parade?
That's it. That's it. Hyperbolic
Hyperbolica.
space. I don't want to listen to music. I don't want to get a copyright claim on
Oh,
this
I think
recording.
saw a video about this
Mm.
Hyperbolica. Or maybe not.
Man, could you imagine pixel art in
All right.
hyperbolic space though?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's a question I want to ask because technically, if you're putting it on a shirt, you're warping it,
Hmm.
technically, right?
Technically, yeah.
So that could be considered sub-pixel like
Subpixel movement.
deformations and
Ah,
subpixel
I
movement.
see.
Does it stop being pixel art
I
because
would
it's on a not on like a flat surface?
I would say that it's still pixel art
Yeah,
because
right.
we've got a grid on that surface and it's following that grid, so I'd say that it's still pixel art.
Right. Yeah, you could consider it that way, right? The definition of the grid just slightly changes because the surface is no longer
Hmm.
flat. I guess you could probably define pixel art on like a sphere as well, but the grid is gonna look really weird there.
Hmm.
Like the pixels toward the poles look more like triangles.
Hmm. Actually, I don't know if you can get a fully square wraparound of a sphere. I don't know the maths behind that because
Yeah, there's some weird ways you can define like unwrapped spheres. I mean, that's the whole issue of like maps, right? Like maps of the world. It's
they're
like them
never like
trying to figure out
properly accurate because
to
you've
make
got all
them
the warping.
rectangular. It's not even not precisely like some nations on world maps are blown out of proportions to ridiculous degrees. Like often on maps, Greenland looks enormous.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Uh-huh.
several times the size of the entirety of the US. Or
Hmm.
about the size of the US, even though that's not really the case, something like that. And I don't know if I'm completely correct here, but proportions are much more
Hmm.
different. Like they really distort that a lot to have it fit on a rectangular piece properly.
Yeah, so that kind of so does distortion. Distortion doesn't necessarily stop it from being
If you can
pixel art.
still like define a reasonable grid on the distorted
Hmm.
space, I guess we were saying it can still be considered pixel art,
So
right?
I'd
So
say
the
so.
yeah, it's like the slight warble on a shirt, the slight deforming on a shirt, you can get a decent grid on there.
But
A
what if we
sphere
take
might be more difficult because it's difficult to get
what if
a
we
nice grid on a sphere.
what if we instead of having a square grid have different shapes? Would that still be pixel art?
I mean,
Say for
not
example,
even
if the
getting to the definition of an individual pixel. Like, I mean, I guess if you redefine pixel to be a hexagon
yeah.
or the star shape, I don't know how you'd fit that together.
I mean,
Actually, this
you
gets
can have
into
hexagon grids, so you could make hexagon shaped pixel
yeah,
art.
this gets into a funny topic I covered in graph theory. There's only like five shapes that
Hmm.
you can. Oh no, this that has to do with other shape. They're called regular polyhedrons, but that doesn't accidentally have to do with like a full grid. That has to do with like 3D objects.
Hmm.
It's the regular polyhedrons are the ones that you can have the same shape over and over again to form like like a cube or the
Yeah, I get you.
tetrahedron.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
just
triangles.
triangles, just squares, and there's only five of them.
Yeah, they're
Like that's it. And in fact, fun fact, there are five of the seven dice used in D&D and similar like systems because they're the easiest.
makes
D4,
sense.
D6, D8, not yeah, D8, D12, and D20. They are the five regular polyhedra. But that touches on what you can. That's like a 3D grid, like
Hmm.
a approximation of a
So,
sphere.
if you had a 2D grid, then would you be able to make pixel art on it
um,
if it didn't have squares. So if we had like a triangular grid, would it still be
Triangular
possible?
grid would be. I mean, okay. I mean, with triangles, depending on how you define them, you can just have them be squares, but that's a bit of an easy answer. Like two triangles. What is it? Isosceles triangles?
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong one, isn't it? I think isosceles triangles.
Uh,
Is
yeah,
that the
two
right
two
one?
isosceles triangles. Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
with a right
The
angle.
90, 45, 45.
Oh
Those
yeah,
ones.
yeah. No, I'm
You
thinking
can
of
you
right
can you
angle
can slap
triangles
those
with a right
together.
angle.
You can slap those together to make a nice square, so then you can just do pixel art that way.
Yeah,
But I
but
mean, if you just say I redefine pixel to be a triangle, it's like,
mhm.
yeah, you can consider it pixel art. That just comes up to what you define a pixel to be.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I assume there'll be the people that say no, that
I
wouldn't be
mean, yeah,
pixel art anymore. That would be a different kind of art. What if there was a screen that had pixels that were triangular like that? So
yeah. I mean, okay, so looking at definitions of pixel, any of the small discrete elements that together constitute an image. So we see that as squares because the way we've always could like
yeah,
built
we've
up
had
images
square
is using
pixels on
squares.
screens.
It doesn't restrict it to. I mean, this is okay. This is Merriam-Webster first definition. It could be there's different definition of like no, none of them say specifically squares. It's just that we are used to squares.
Yeah,
If the discrete elements that your image are built up of are circles, dots, triangles, star shape, then that is a pixel because it is the discrete element of which your image is built up of. So, in that sense, yes, triangles, squares, even a mix, if you can figure out a way where you can have a repeating grid of two shapes,
actually,
they are the discrete elements, and therefore they are the pixels.
so that
And
means that
therefore, if you fill them in individually, you have pixel art.
And that also means that you could make pixel art out of things that aren't pixel art because I've seen photos recreated with other photos. And because of the photo's general color when zoomed all the way out, each photo is placed in a specific area to create a larger photo. It's a really weird effect. I'll
Yeah,
find
yeah,
it. I'll
yeah.
find.
Oh yeah, no,
I'll
there's
find an
plenty
image.
of
But
examples of that. You know, I know those, but I guess you could say there that the photos that the photo is made up of are made up of individual square pixels generally.
mhm.
So you're still ultimately making it out of squares.
Yeah, but the thing is would that still be considered? Would that be considered pixel art if the pixels themselves aren't pixel art?
Uh,
Am I
but
am I
no, but I mean the photos are not the pics, right? Because oh right, you zoom it out so much that it basically you take the average,
the
the
average
whole
color?
pixel
Yeah.
is just the average color of that entire photo. There it becomes a weird. This
Hmm.
is this discussion took a whole lot more interesting turn than I expected it to,
There,
honestly,
there
so
you go. I'm
far.
I'm just covering as many different bases as I
Yeah,
can. I want to see
no,
what
I,
really is
I,
pixel art.
yeah, I just find it interesting that if you look at the definition of what a pixel actually is, you could, as long as it's a grid, it doesn't matter what shape you're using. So I guess on a sphere, it's also really easy to make a grid. You just divide it into whatever sort of discrete elements you want.
Hmm.
Interesting. Very
So
interesting.
so would then the definition of pixel art be art that you can individually get the pixels that make up of it, no matter
Yeah,
what the
the
pixels are?
individual elements, no matter what the shape or size of the pixels are, you could have, in that sense, like the pixels could be varying in size technically. There's nothing about I guess it does often talk about a basic unit, and a
Hmm.
basic unit does assume some sort of consistency. But if you are a bit flexible, you could just say that they don't need to have a equal size. You can have a pixel art piece where the left half is just one pixel and the right half is a bunch of random shapes cobbled together.
I mean, I have seen art like that done before, where
Yeah.
it's kind of breaking the mold and it's breaking the pixel art down into other different shapes and things, and it gives this really
Yeah.
nice effect actually. You've got like
Right.
ASCII art that does that, where you've
Right.
got the
Yeah.
pixels and then it breaks it down into different things. There's some
Right. I
Brandon
mean, okay.
James Greer did a video on that a bit ago.
Yes. Hold on.
So
James
I,
Clear.
I I am not afraid to admit that he is one of my pixel art idols.
Right. Yeah. Can imagine that. But yeah, no. I mean, it is again, different sizes is a bit tough because you could see pixel as a specific unit
Hmm.
of measurement, like the smallest unit of measurement. So having it vary kind of makes that dubious.
Hmm.
But letting that loose a
Dubious. I
bit,
like that
you
word.
can dubious is it
Dubious.
is it is. I admitted this today to someone. Sometimes there's just one of those words that I see. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a cool word. I'm gonna use this, and then I just use the like throughout the next few weeks. Dubious is up there. Dichotomy is one I've been using too many times recently, even though it really doesn't have that many applications.
I don't. I have no idea what it means. So there you go.
Dichotomy is just basically just a state of being divided into two, usually referring to like a nation or whatever. It's like there's the one side and the other side.
So
Basically, a divide between a people or
so
some political
is
situation or
is
whatever.
dichotomy the divide?
A division into two contrasting things or parts. So I
So
guess it doesn't need to be
there's a dichotomy
political,
in
but
the pixel art community on what is true pixel art. You could say something like that.
yeah, I mean, I do feel like dichotomy usually refers to like two. I mean, yeah, die. No,
Yeah, dies to or
no,
by.
it's
There's
not. Bias too.
bias too.
Dichotomy. Hold on. It doesn't
I
necessarily.
think die also means
A
to.
divide. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter because yeah,
Because I know
but yeah. So
five has
sometimes
a.
there's those words that just stick with me for a while. So currently it's dubious and dichotomy.
I've got a couple of words of those of myself.
Uh,
I've for some reason everybody hates the word moist. Why does everybody hate the word? It's such a good word. It
the
flows
internet
off the
has
tongue.
corrupted it, but yes, you are right. It is a good
Like
word, but it has been
moisten,
utterly and fully corrupted.
moister, moistest. These are all valid words.
Moisterd. Oh no, wait, that's the condiment.
Mustard.
Moisterd.
Moistered is when you're really trying to say mustard, but like you've got something like
No,
you've got pop rocks on your tongue or
all
something
right.
like that.
No. Moisterd is the when you have a condiment and you forget to shake it and just a little like liquid drizzle comes out and you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
When you
or
do that with mustard, it's called moistered.
now when you accidentally coat your entire meal in an entire vat of mustard, it is now moistered.
Accidental.
Yes,
When
it
you
is. If it's done deliberately, it is no longer moistered.
Okay. It's like you're walking through the big McDonald's factory. You walk past the ketchup vat. You look at it. It's like, okay, cool. You open your lunch. It's a McDonald's cheeseburger or whatever, and then you walk past the big mustard vat, and you trip and you let it drop in.
Yep,
Like
yep. That's
moistered
moistered.
burger.
Yep.
That's
Man,
not the only situation, though. I doubt they just have a big open vat of mustard
McDonald's,
laying around.
please take this idea. I've got so many more ideas if you ever need to pick my
Yeah,
brain.
but how do they repeatedly, accidentally, like they're a whole show and dance is made about it. There's like in a McDonald's,
It
there's
has
just
to be an
an
accident.
open barrel of mustard, and you order a moistered burger, and an employee has to start walking towards you with the moistered burger, walk past the barrel, trip on their shoelace, and then drop it into the vat,
No, but
and then fish it out.
then you get to sue the company because it was
Uh,
premeditated moistered. Therefore, it's not moistered, and they can't call it that. And then you sue McDonald's for everything they're worth.
oh God, no. Into that.
I
Okay.
am absolutely a chaotic neutral.
No, this is you can't even add neutral to this. This is true chaotic.
Yeah,
I've
maybe
always
I'm a
felt
little evil.
I've always felt like that was, again, more tangents, but I'm having a good time. Okay, so who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah.
With like alignment charts, that's four categories I would really like to see. It's just sometimes you're so chaotic, there's no consideration of am I neutral? Am I evil or good? No, you're just true chaotic.
Yeah. No, that I
You
mean,
don't
I would
care
say
about.
true chaotic would be like chaotic neutral. That's what I'd say. Because
Uh,
then it doesn't matter whether you're doing good or whether you're doing bad. You just love the chaos. I'd say that's chaotic neutral.
I mean, no, as in the thing is, most in its consideration, most humans can be considered chaotic neutral-ish, in that they don't always really have regard for the law, um, but they're kind of doing their own thing, but they still have some kind of like morals. Where it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not always doing good, but I have my limits. Like that's what neutral more says to me. It's kind of a middle ground. It's like I'm not actively trying to do good, but I'm also not trying to be a piece. And if you're true, oh,
Don't worry, I'll censor it in
if
the
we're
edit.
there's the first one.
I'll censor it in the edit. It's fine.
um, and but true chaotic is more like I guess it kind of leans more towards evil, but sometimes it's like it's not chaotic evil has the consideration of I'm intentionally being like the most disturbing, disruptive form of chaotic. While true chaotic is more like there's no consideration of morals, there's no consideration of good or evil or trying to hit some middle ground. You are just being chaotic.
Hmm.
And then same, you have true lawful. It's like you don't care about morals. You're just there to enforce the law. There's true good and true evil kind of become more difficult to abide by.
Hmm.
Like mostly it would be like more abstract and nebulous creatures like
I'd
deities or something.
I'd argue that these true versions of these things are actually just on the neutral scale.
Yeah, like I guess, but you kind of stuff a lot into the neutral skill then. It's like it feels like you could
Hmm.
afford to kind of expand it by just the one thing to make it a bit more of a distinction. But I mean, that's okay. First of all, that's like there's a point at which you need to stop expanding
Hmm.
alignment charts, and second of all, not pixel art.
Yeah, true. We can actually extend this conversation and bring it back to pixel art by saying, do you
Oh
think
boy.
there's some sort of pixel art alignment chart where you've got like true purists who think that pixel art has to be done on old console style, that
That's
kind of
like
thing, or
That's like lawful good or something
yeah,
is just, true pixel art, no other tools, just using
yeah.
the regular brush.
Hmm.
Uh,
One pixel. If it's not one pixel at a time, it's not pixel art.
yeah.
You've got those kind of things. Then you've got the people that are like, everything digital is pixel art. So if I use
That's
brushes, I
chaotic
don't
evil.
care.
That's
Yeah.
chaotic evil. It's just every digital piece of art is
You
pixel
say
art.
I'm evil, but I'm all inclusive. How do you counter that?
Ah,
Yeah.
got me there. Uh,
Haha.
all right, guys. That's the challenge. Join in. Oh, we have a Discord now.
Yeah.
Discord
Yeah,
server.
we do.
Drop those in the descriptions. Join it and drop your like pixel artist alignment charts.
Yeah, give us your pixel artist alignment charts for a chance to be featured in the next episode.
I might crash in a second because Notepad just stopped responding, which is
Oh.
really worrying.
I'll tell you if I
So
stop hearing you.
I might blue screen. Hold on. I'm going to stop recording on Audacity. It has already crashed. Uh-oh. Oh.
Oh. Well, Discord, I can still hear your Discord. I can use the Discord audio for this section.
Hello guys. Audacity told us, or my laptop told us, stop going off topic. It blue screened. So that's great. It started with Notepad no longer responding, which is just the most worrying thing you can ever have. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll go more on topic. We kind of went on topic. We talked about I guess you kind of missed out on that. We talked about dating pixel artists on the alignment chart.
All right. So since you guys missed that out, I'll try and repeat it again. So you guys, I want you guys to send us your pixel artist alignment charts.
Yeah, we have a Discord server now, so that'll be in the description of wherever this is, an invite link.
Yep.
And if you don't feel like joining that, tweet at us, Pixel Imperfect, and we'll see it, look at it as well.
And if you don't have Twitter, well, first of all, understandable. Um, second of all, we have an email as well. If you want to email us.
Oh God!
Yeah,
is this the competition?
And if you don't have email, what are you doing on the internet?
Ow!
How have you gone this long?
Comment the alignment chart. Make assy art out of your alignment chart and comment it on like the YouTube video. And if you somehow do not have access to YouTube, wait, you need an email for that.
All right, guys. If you don't have access to this podcast, we can make fun of you because you can't hear us. Haha.
Dumbasses. Why would you?
All right.
No. So yeah, because we had a little gag about like top left is true pixel artists like lawful good, just normal brush, nothing else. Bottom right is every piece of digital art is pixel art.
Chaotic freeform.
Chaotic freeform, yeah.
So well, I wonder, did it cut out you? Did it cut out you swearing? I wonder. Was that in that bit?
Was that in that bit? Maybe I saved you some work.
Oh, maybe you did.
That's what it was. I saw it and it just short circuited my laptop. I was like, oh God, no, Bart, not now. You gotta get rid of it.
Bart, he's getting too angry. Please, no, I can't handle this.
Oh God.
Starts having a mini breakdown.
No, yeah. But yeah, so yes, send us alignment charts. I guess that's like the challenge for today's episode.
Yeah.
We'd like to see what you guys got in store, what you guys think are alignment charts, because those tend to vary a lot.
Mm-hmm. I might make my own alignment
because usually you base it on your own morals, right? So you're gonna put yourself in the lawful good section or something.
I think that I'd probably put myself in neutral good, a sort of like I'm okay with tools being used, but I would say that pixel art has to be visible pixel art and sort of stick to some sort of grid.
Right. I mean, I feel like for pixel art, for what we're discussing here, but in general, I'm probably more of a chaotic neutral person.
That's fair.
In general.
Yeah.
It's like specific to this topic, but just in general, chaotic neutral.
In general, I'm chaotic neutral as well, but
yeah. So we had the whole song and dance about if it's on a non-flat surface, it can still be pixel art, either by it not being that distorted or just redefining the grid or using hexagons instead of something else.
I'd say as long as there's a visible grid that it's following, I would call that pixel art, because they're cells on a grid, but I might as well just call them pixels at that point, just for ease of reference.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, they're pretty much the same thing. Cells are the little things that make up a bigger thing. That's exactly what pixels are.
Yeah, right. The little thing that makes up a bigger thing. The smallest unit of it, in fact. And that's the whole point. So the smallest unit is a square, a cell, a hexagon, a picture of a cat, or the outline of a cat somehow.
Yeah. The smallest unit is
I guess you have those images that are like the same. What are they called again? It was a Pixel Daily's theme relatively recently, where it was the thing where you like tessellation.
Ooh,
you know tessellation, right?
Yeah, I made something for that, but I didn't actually.
I made something for that as well.
Of course you did. You make something for it every day.
Not every day. It's not always the Pixel Daily theme. I just make a piece every day, but I did make something for tessellation. I don't know if mine was a bunch of cats, right? Could you technically consider, say you have a form of tessellation. I guess that's basically what we've been describing. Because, I mean, a grid is just one of the most basic forms of tessellation, which is just squares, right? So well, basically, what we're saying here is that if you have a tessellation where the individual pieces are just one color, let's say that at least,
Hmm.
then that tessellation is pixel art.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. As long as the tessellations are visible. If it isn't, if the tessellations
Yeah,
aren't
right.
visible, then it wouldn't be pixel art. I'd say it's just a
Yeah,
really awkward art piece.
yeah. It's like it's
You
it's
you
like
put in
oh
all of this effort to tessellate
yeah,
your pixels, and you can't even see them. What's the point?
right, yeah, I got that. But yeah, so interesting, interesting. Not expecting, did not expect the conversation to head in this direction.
Mm.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm still like recovering. It's like I
Yeah,
thought it had only saved like 45
yeah,
seconds of the recording,
you're just
but it
like,
was just it was all the way zoomed out,
right. So
right?
it was
And it
45
was
minutes of it.
45
Yeah.
minutes of the recording instead, and I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
oh.
I'm currently on, I think, like 55 minutes
Yeah,
of recording
same
time. So
same
I've
around
got
here, but bless recovery systems. Like
absolutely.
a sprite as well. I'm a heathen. I'm an arrogant little goblin that doesn't save their pieces halfway through making them, like at any point usually. Because I'm like, they don't take that long to make, and my hubris has almost caught up with me a couple of
Mm-hmm.
times, where like 2 minutes before finishing, my laptop like
Crash.
crashed.
Yeah.
But then A Sprite was like, "Hey, we have these files that you didn't save, like an idiot. We got them here for you." And it's like, bless, bless, bless.
My line of work requires you to save basically all the time because things can
Yeah,
crash. Because I like work as a designer, that sort of thing.
right.
Um, so I have my left hand permanently hovering over Control S.
Right.
Like
I mean,
I
I have it permanently on Control Z, so I might as well make the detour toward the S
yeah,
sometimes.
it's
But I'm just too
one key.
lazy.
Wait, hold on.
I don't know why I don't do it.
Are keyboards pixel art? Because you can see the grid that they're made up of. You can see the cells that
What?
they're made up of. Are keyboards
What? What does your keyboard look like?
lots of boxes. That's it. I'm looking at it now. It's just a grid of
Oh, right.
boxes.
I,
Okay, some of
I,
them are distorted, but we've
uh,
discussed that we can allow some
uh,
distortion as long as we can see a
I
clear grid.
guess,
Are
I
keyboards
guess,
pixel art?
unique color pixel.
Mm-hmm.
uh, oh, okay. Let's
Are
like we are
keyboards
testing
pixel
one.
art?
It's like this is like this is going to this is not the sort of controversy I was expecting of us just absolutely demolishing the barrier and just like, no, everything's pixel art. It doesn't have a grid, pixel art. Can it be tessellated? Pixel art.
So
Is it on a sphere? Believe it or not, pixel art.
let's try and define some rules then. So
Okay,
we've got
sure.
that we need
There, right. We've got. It needs
uh
to be. I would say the individual units is probably better if they are the same size or the
yeah,
same shape and size.
yeah.
So that works with tessellation. Even if you have to rotate them, they're still technically the same shape and size.
Yeah.
So that works with squares, but if you start introducing more complex shapes or multiple shapes, I feel that it becomes less sticks less to that
Yeah.
definition. You could
So
kind of loosen up, but
my keyboard isn't pixel art then.
ah,
Worst day of my life, this
womp
realization.
womp womp.
Uh I'll never recover from this. I can't believe it.
So yeah, I would say probably that you could say, but I mean, I did find that a funny definition because it broadens it a lot. Just have people being like, yeah, I just drew a bird that I can tessellate, and I'm coloring the birds in such a way that it builds up a bigger piece.
Hmm.
Ta-da, pixel art. Like obviously, no one is going to accept this definition as like stated
Yeah.
fact.
But
But
if we're going by the Google
see, again,
definition of
I'm
what
a
a pixel
mathematician,
is,
so I like making things more abstract. That's my whole career.
my whole thing has always been in sort of creative. I did English going all the way through school, did really well with
Right.
that, and I went into design for working. So
Oh yeah.
I'm more of a creative and fluid freeform
Yeah.
person. So
Right.
I think that when things have rules, you can bend and twist around those. So I'm
Right.
always finding ways to
I
change
mean,
those rules.
we, I, funny, funny that it kind of comes to the same thing in this case, where where in your perspective, we're kind of bending and shaping the rules to be. It's like, oh yeah, it can be any repeated shape you want, and it's pixel art. Where
Yeah.
for me, it's just like in mathematics, this is the way we've defined it. So that means usually squares, but in the abstract sense, it can be any repeating pattern of the
Yeah.
same shape and size.
I think that rules should bend to man and not the other way around. Oh no, I'm bringing out my Senator Armstrong. Sorry.
Oh no.
Oh man, it just came out of me. I'm sorry. Nano machines. No, sorry.
What's the what's the first song?
Uh, standing here, I
Realize.
realize. Oh man, this is gonna be awful listening for our viewers. I
Oh
apologize
yeah, this is the
profusely for any
worst.
singing that I do.
No, this again. we- What a roller coaster episode. We've so many tangents. Senator Armstrong.
I'm enjoying making these. Though.
We should just jokingly make one episode that's just called Derailed and just talk about
Well,
Metal Gear Revengeance.
the 1st of April is a Friday, so
Oh!
we can delay episode 2.
Oh my. Why didn't we think of that?
It's weird
Oh, why
saying
didn't
we
think
can
of
we can
that?
delay episode 2 because if
It
we
can
do,
go
then
live.
this episode's coming out in the future once we've
Why
already made the
didn't we
decision.
think of that? Why didn't we think of that? Why didn't we make a joke episode for a second?
It might have been a bit early. We'll wait for next year.
Yeah, once we have a little more of a following, we can
Okay.
do that.
I did want to. Okay, so you have some other things on this list, but there's one I kind of want to touch on now. Brian, if you don't mind, it's
You
the one
don't-
I mentioned.
You
It's
don't sound too sure about that.
it's the tools used to make the pixel art. Like,
Yeah.
of course, you have lines and circles and spheres, and I think most people would agree. It's like, yeah, if you use a line tool, it's still generally pixel art, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know, in a sprite, it abides by the whole thing. So whatever. But I'm more talking about blur, not dithering, blur.
Yeah.
Because dithering can be used as a substitute for blur, but like blur tools, where it actually becomes a gradient, right? More like gradient.
Yeah.
Would you say that is pixel art if you do that? If you use like a standard blur tool or whatever.
I don't, I'm not particularly hard set on that as long as you can still tell the pixels. So it depends on the level of blur, I'd say.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm talking to the point where it just looks like a gradient for the most part.
If it does,
it
just
looks
look like a
like
gradient.
it looks like, you know, YouTube video with very dark colors that has that like blocky
Aye.
gradient
Yeah,
going on.
Yeah, I know that.
That sort of stuff.
Like
That is kind of, it's like the worst thing is like in recent times I've realized, okay, that might be a line where that's not really pixel art. I've done that so often.
I'm in exactly the
previous
same boat.
pieces.
But I'm
because-
mostly there for backgrounds. I normally use some blur.
Yeah, for backgrounds you use some blur, right?
Yeah.
So it's difficult because I don't want to consider it pixel art, but I've done it so often where I'm like, am I not a pixel artist? It's just
Having the panic that I might be an actual digital artist and not a pixel artist.
oh no, the imposter syndrome is setting in.
I'm having a midlife crisis at the age of 18. I've got a short life.
Calm down, buddy. No. And the other I wanted to touch on is something we did mention in episode 2 as well. Is Dead Cells, right? Dead Cells had the here's your
The
name
pixel
dropping. You can show that picture again.
Oh no, not again! Oh. All right.
pixel
Message
art
to
in
future me.
Even more
continue.
apart.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Dead Cells has the pixel art where it's like, right? It's the 3D models with filters applied to it.
Mm-hmm.
Are pixel art filters pixel art?
Whoa. The question of if you can just take a photo and decrease the resolution and call that pixel art, I'm
Yeah.
going to say no to spite my family because every time they're like, "Oh, Sean's a pixel artist," and then I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, and then my brother comes on, he's like, "Yeah, I'm a pixel artist too. Watch this," and he takes a photo and he just scales it down. He's like, "Look, see, I can do exactly what you can do in much less time." That's the thing every pixel art just hates, where it's like, no, don't do that to me. I spent so long on this.
No, you cannot do that. No,
That's not pixel art. That's just a photo.
no.
You haven't made that. You haven't drawn
The,
that.
scaling down photos, it's kind. See, the thing is, that's sort of the same thing as a pixel art filter because
That's
it's
why I
just
was making the
averaging
comparison.
out colors. It's averaging out colors in a certain area to decide what color the pixels should be, which.
And yet, if you want to
Uh,
have ragdoll physics in a pixel art game, that's what you need. That's kind of one of the things that you need to do. Unless you're taking the Noita route, where each pixel is simulated, you can take the other route and have it 3D animated, but just with a pixel art filter, and then bam, instant ragdoll.
So I guess that makes Dead Cells again a weird situation where everything that moves, all the characters and stuff, and the NPCs and the prisoner and the enemies, they're not really pixel art. As in, they look like pixel art. You can just see the individual pixels, but the tools used just it's like in a technical sense, yes, but it feels cheap. As in, the way Dead Cells do it is not cheap, obviously, but it feels cheap to call it pixel art.
I would say that it's a case of the opposite of what I'd mentioned before, where it is pixel animation, but it's not pixel art.
Oh God!
So we've just found the opposite of of what sprite animation was to me, where things are moving off grid.
So you should love this one.
I actually do. This is one of the things where
I
actually really do.
I mean,
quite
Dead
like
Cells characters do look really good.
Yeah, I know, right? So I can never dunk on Dead Cells for that. So
no, I mean I can never dunk on Dead Cells. Period.
This is true.
Just kidding. No, so I guess there's that, and was there something? No, I guess that's kind of the two, and the rest of the game is pixel art then, because okay, maybe not. I'm assuming the rest of the game is just regular pixel art. I'm pretty sure it is. There's also like some characters in Dead Cells are definitely just actual just 2D like pixel art through pixel art sprites.
Animated.
Yeah, manually animated because they don't like move around as dynamically. They have some few set animations, like the barber guy with the big scissors. He's not a 3D. I hope he's not a 3D model.
That feels like have the Dead Cells team been really smart and actually tricked us this whole time?
Oh no! I seen. Yeah, it could be because I can understand it for characters like the prisoners are because their movement is so dynamic and the way the game is built up with how detailed the pixel art animations are. It would have taken years to make the sprites for all the actual enemies and stuff. So I can understand going for a like well streamlined 3D animation process is much like more realistic for something like that.
But you still have to animate all of the 3D things.
Yeah, but that's much more okay. I'm not saying it's.
I wouldn't say it's
much easier. I would say it's more realistic to do to achieve, less time consuming. Certainly.
I mean, it really depends on your workflow. Some 3D animation is quite difficult, but
yeah.
I mean, unless you're
more potential for
the makers behind Vector and Shadow Fight, where they made an animation software that is physics based.
Right.
Those guys are insane.
Oh God, yeah.
No, unless you're them, I wouldn't say that the animating 3D models is particularly.
It's not easy. I'm not saying it's ridiculously easy. I watched Corridor Digital. I know what sort of hell like, animation can go through, and all that sort of stuff. So no, I know it's not easy, but I can see how in the context of Dead Cells, 3D animation was a preferable option.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Anyway, but not difficult to say about pixel art. Okay, was there anything? I mean, this is again, we've come up on an hour at this point already.
We really have. Let me check how long we've been recording. We did have quite a long introduction, mind you. We started recording quite a bit before the introduction.
Yeah, but I feel like we're coming up on a good episode length here. So, you want anything else you wanted to mention specifically, or you want to wrap it up?
I'm fine wrapping up here. I don't think I have any more points at the moment until I've seen other people's opinions. Then I'll be able to make comment.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like the discussion was much more interesting than I expected it to be. So
Took so
I
many more
wouldn't
turns.
mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind like continuing some of these
Revisiting this.
ideas
Yeah.
and revisiting this later. So I mean, feel free to pop in the Discord and talk about it. We have a channel that dedicated to latest episodes. So
Yeah. Feel
I'll
free to
definitely, when
come by
this
and talk.
episode comes out, I'll pop my head in there for sure if there's enough
I have all
convo going
messages
on.
on for that server, so if you drop a message, I'm shooting there.
He's there. He's there. Sean just appears, spawns
Just like,
in.
hi, me, Minecraft Enderman teleports there. Hello.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, I think that's it for us. Thank you everybody for listening in again. So this was, of course, episode 3, but it was recorded in the past. So, some of the things and the way we're talking about dates and things might not match up. That's probably going to add to some of the humor of it. As always, if you thought that we did something wrong, if we went off topic too much, or if you like this even and you want us to go off topic a bit more, please let us know. We're always open to feedback. But I think for now that's us. So that's it from me, Sean, and from Bart as well.
Yes, correct.
So bye guys, and
Bye
and we'll see you in the
bye.
next episode.